Like Barbara said, thanks for not melting. Not a witch among you. That's good. At least not the melting kind, huh? So I want to just, in total transparency, I want to take responsibility for the rain. I planted some sod out by my new parking spot over there, and I haven't had time to water it like I should have, so. I absolutely take responsibility for every condition in my life. That song was perfect to lead into this. That idea that I am the rain, I am. And I have two wonderful stories I want to share just to demonstrate. When I lived in Australia, this is how I figured it out. There were a bunch of us in Sydney, Australia that were going to go out on a picnic. We're going to meet in downtown Sydney and drive out to a beach, probably a half hour away from the city, and have a picnic. We got in town, it was coming down in sheets. It was amazing how much rain was coming down. And I'm going, what are we going to do? And they looked at me and said, and this is my first spiritual community. Before I found Science of Mind, they said, we're going on a picnic. Okay. So we got in this van and we're going down the road. There's a caravan of us, and we're driving and driving and driving. It's pouring, pouring, pouring. We pull into this little parking lot, and it stopped raining. What a coincidence. Nobody said anything. We went down to the beach, walked down this path. It was glistening. The sun was out. Everything was sparkling. It was so beautiful. We had a great day at the beach. It was wonderful. We played. We ate. We had a great time. We packed everything up, went back to the car, got in the van, pulled out of the parking lot, and it started coming down in sheets. And I turned to someone and I said, did we do that? They said, duh. They were so forgiving that I was an American. And then, of course, there was that great story of my friend Greg Brayton, who tells the story of going out with a native man into a medicine wheel, and he stood there for a moment, and they left, and what the guy had said to Greg was, I'm going to go pray rain. It hadn't rained in a long time, and he was going to go pray rain. And so they started leaving. Greg said, I thought you said you were going to pray for rain. I never said I was going to pray for rain. I said I was going to pray rain. What does that mean? I stood in the middle of that circle, and I know the truth. I feel the mud around my toes. I feel the water falling on me. Absolutely knowing that it's so. So they left. They went to lunch. That was it. The next day, there's a thunderstorm north of where they are, which is, what's the name of that town north of Santa Fe? Taos. That's where he lived. There's a big storm north, about 100 miles north of Taos, and on the radar you can see there's this storm and this strange line going down to where they were, and it rained. Huh. Could it be that we have that kind of control of the conditions in our lives?
Yes.
If you believe the science of mind, the answer has got to be yes. Now, most of us don't accept that. I was at a wonderful practitioner retreat last week, and the idea of rain came up, and the person said, well, remember your umbrella. You can do that. There's nothing wrong with rain. Rain is wonderful. We need rain. But we do create our conditions. When it stops raining, it stops raining because everybody goes, oh, it stopped raining. It's not raining anymore. We're in a drought. We get on the news. It's a drought. Everybody understand it's a drought. It's not raining. Guess what? Hello? We have that kind of control over our experience. Not all of us want that kind of control, but it's this simple. The science of mind teaches that there is one spiritual law. And that spiritual law, no matter how you want to define it or organize it or understand it, it takes the impress of our thought and turns it into reality. Now, I think lots of things that never materialize. Well, you just don't see them because all of those things you're thinking exist in the infinite realm of possibility. And this is how I imagine it. So I have a thought. I'm prosperous. I'm prosperous. So in the infinite realm of possibility, the visual manifestation, the physical manifestation of your prosperity is up there somewhere over in that area, and it kind of works its way out into the aisle, and it starts working its way towards you so you can see it, and you go, I don't have any money. And it turns around and goes back where it was. Because you didn't have a consistent thought. You didn't stay with your thought. You didn't hold that as the truth allowing it to manifest completely into visible form in your life. It already exists. Your prosperity is not avoiding you. You're avoiding it. Or anything else that you may want. The law is absolute, without question. It always works. The question is, how clear are you about seeing it? I've treated for people, known something wonderful was coming into their life, and they come back and say, it didn't happen. Well, tell me what did happen. And they tell me what happened. I said, well, that was it trying to show up in your life. Did he? You know, pay attention. You got to be able to see it. It takes some effort. This teaching is not complicated. You know that. It's not. It's a very simple teaching. Your thoughts are your reality. And if you hold to them clearly and know that they're so, and they will show up. They already exist in the realm of infinite possibility. There's nothing beyond that. But here's the deal. We want to be, I think, but have not yet achieved the level of being disciplined thinkers. Discipline? I got to be disciplined? I got to be disciplined? Oh, come on. Hey, Richard. Where's Richard? Here's Richard. I want to play the piano. I want to play as good as you. Can I go do that now? Yeah, it's not too late, but if I go over and sit at that piano, my guess is it's not going to come out the way it does when you sit there. Why is that? Because I haven't practiced it. I haven't learned it. I haven't been through the process of doing that. It's the same way with our thinking. We all know how to think. Guess what? Most of the crap we think holds us in a place of limited thinking. And we don't express that glorious presence that we are because we're used to having a different kind of thinking, an undisciplined kind of thinking, just letting whatever comes. Whatever we see, that must be the way it is. And we get caught in that, and we keep getting hooked in the hook. And we start to learn that there's a different way to think. Oh, my thoughts are creating my reality. It's not that my reality is creating my thoughts. I remember, and things start shifting. And then you wake up one morning, and guess what? That stuff shows up again. Why is that? Because you're creating it. That's all we do is we create it. Now, this isn't making us wrong. It's not wrong. It's just demonstrating how powerful we are. We are incredibly powerful beings. We're God beings. And we can create whatever we want. But we have these senses that keep showing us the reality around us, and we keep thinking that's real, but that's not what's real. It's our thinking that's creating our experience. And how does that show up? Well, it shows up as our words. I'm an extrovert, so sometimes I don't know what I'm thinking until I say it. But those of you that are introverts know that you work it pretty good on the inside and never have to say a word. Either way, it's the same thing. It doesn't change the fact that whatever you're thinking is creating your experience. Those thoughts that you're creating, those fears, those confusions, those upsets, those judgments are all involved in it. So are all the wonderful thoughts that you have, the affirmations, the idea of something wonderful coming and being a part of your life. It's all this hodgepodge. The trick is, let's start being more disciplined. So I have 5 ideas I want to share with you on how you do that. Of course I've got a list. It's Sunday and I'm up here. So I've got five thoughts about how to turn around our thinking. It's really not that complicated, but let's look at them one at a time. The first one is pay attention to what you're thinking. Hello. I can't pay attention to every thought I have. Well, of course you can't. I mean, they say that we have tens of thousands of thoughts all the time. We're just constantly having thoughts all the time. Can you pay attention to all of them? You can pay attention to more of them. Yes, you can. You can pay attention to more of them and get to know what's going through your mind. Most of us are on this autopilot thing where our mind just runs. How many of y'all have meditated? Yeah, how was it with the first time you meditated? Turning that off. Oh my God, who knew there were so many thoughts going on there? But if you do that kind of thing, you start to get a sense there's a lot going on. And some of them aren't so pretty. Yeah, they are. They're judgments. And we live in this physical universe where we're faced with this idea of separateness. So it's really easy to point your finger and say, that's the problem. Or that's what did it. Or that's the thing I want to get away from over there. But all that stuff's happening on the inside or it wouldn't be sitting on the outside. It's already here. It's already on the inside. Exactly what Barbara said in her Paracelsus. It's already there. So, what do? We become aware at a greater level that there's something that's going on called thought in the midst of us all the time. It's happening right where we are. We're thinking. Sometimes, like me, the extrovert, I'm saying. So, one way or another, it's to become aware of it. And there's some keys, like every time you say, I should. Red flag. Yeah, what was the other one that I thought of this morning? I can't. Barbara gave a great talk on that not too long ago. Anything like that is a limiting thought will hold you in a limiting space. Will keep you from having the thing that you talked about wanting. So the first thing you have to do is you have to pay attention and be aware of what it is that you're thinking, right? The second one, surprise, surprise. No, don't do something right away. Don't do something right away. Don't do anything. Pause, take a breath. Get what it is you're thinking. This is important. It's important to slow down enough to be aware of what's going on. Because that thing that's going on in your head, those thoughts, they are winding. I mean, they're NASCAR kinds. You know, they are flying through you so fast. Take a breath. Slow down. Get a sense of what's going on in your consciousness. It's amazing. Meditation will do that. It will help you with that. I actually was, I guess that's on my mind because Dr. Edward Villion out in Santa Rosa sent me an email this week and asked me to endorse his book on meditation, The Power of Meditation. It's his new book, and he wants me to write a little something for the front of it, and so I have to read the book. So I've been thinking a lot about meditation. Probably going to be doing more of that for a little while, maybe even longer. But the idea is if you want to go from what is going on in that very fast-moving mind of yours to a different place, you've got to slow down enough to shift gears. And what you need in the midst of all that is a new thought. A new thought. A thought different than the one that you had put out there. And you cannot get to that place without slowing down and taking a breath. So give yourself a break. When you realize that you're headed in a direction that isn't working, when you either see something out in the world and your immediate indication is you want to react to it, don't. Take a breath. Give yourself a moment to figure out where you want to go. I remember once there was a neighbor of mine that had a fire in their garage. And a neighbor came across next to them. They were across the street. Neighbor came over and saw the fire. And I came out and saw what was going on. And I see the neighbor looking at his next door neighbor's fire going on. He's not doing anything. And for a moment it was like, what is wrong with him? And then all of a sudden I realized he stopped long to think about, how am I going to help get rid of this? He didn't just, throw water on a grease fire. He actually thought about what it was that was going on and how he could help. And he actually helped him put the fire out very quickly. Wow. But it was that moment of taking the time to think about it that gave him the space to do something appropriate rather than being reactive to the circumstance. And we do that all the time. Something happens, boom, we've got a reaction, we've got a thought. That's wrong, that's bad. We go into it and judge it right away to try to create some separation. But something's going on there that we can understand if we'll take a breath. And get that we can influence this in a powerful way because we're more powerful than it. Take a breath. Pause. Get your bearings. Even with a thought in your mind, even with a thought, take a breath. Pause. And then move forward. So what do you do once you've taken that breath? What's the first thing you do? First thing you do is number 3. Ask yourself, is this what I want? Is what's coming out of my mouth right now, or what's in my head, what I'm thinking about, is that what I want? Do I want this to be a problem? Do I want this person to be my enemy? Do I want this to be a losing situation? Because is that first thought that pops? Was it the direction that I want to go, or is it something else? Oh, a lot of times it's something else. And if we pause long enough to ask ourselves this question, is this what I want? Now we're at choice. Frankly, we're always a choice, but we don't know that. Autopilot is not a choice. Autopilot's just going to do the thing that's happened 1,000 times. It's going to do the same thing. You're going to get the same result. You're going to be in the same fix you were before. When you ask yourself, is this what I want? Now you get to choose. I get to choose whether this is what I want or not. If it is, great, go for it. If it's not, there's something else to do. And that would be to ask myself, what do I want? What do I want? Pretty simple, huh? Well, but this is what's happened. Here it is. Here's the problem. I can see it. So why do I have, what good is this going to do? This is just going to create some kind of upset between what I see and what I want. No, not at all. To the contrary, the place that changes it isn't where your focus is. Now there's a little trick to this that many of you have heard me talk about. Don't focus on the wanting. Because if you focus on wanting something, people aren't telling people what I really want. All you get is wanting. You get lots of wanting. You focus on the object of your desire. So this isn't it. This thing that I'm looking at, this thing I'm faced with, this circumstance in my life is not what I want. What do I want? Let me focus on that object, that idea, that situation, that condition. Let me focus on that. Let me see that in my mind's eye. Let me hear it. Let me touch it. Let me know that it's there. Let me be absolutely clear that that's what it is. Can you imagine a situation where this wouldn't work? It always works. Because mind precedes form. The thought precedes the form. What you've got in front of you, you created. No blame, no problem, nothing wrong here, because everything's a spiritual experience. You didn't make a mistake. You've got a result. You want a different result? Have a different thought. Create a new thought. Start over, right now. Yeah, but that thing's screaming at me. It's a real problem. Well, if you keep thinking that, you're going to keep getting a real problem. What do you want? What do you want your life to look like? How do you want it to function? If I wanted to play a piano like Richard, I'm sure if I focused enough on that, put enough energy and attention on that, I don't know if I could play as good as him, but I could probably play the piano and do anything else that I put my mind to. So can you. So can you. Anything. There's no limitations on you. You're the presence of the divine. Why would you have a limitation? Why would something not work in your life? Anything can work in your life. And the only one that prevents you from being there is you, beloveds. You have the power to do that. No one else does. So what do you want? That's the question. Once you answer that question, what do I want? Then you have this final idea. Oops. Yeah, let go. Because if you think you're going to guide this thing from beginning to end, and it's all going to happen right in order just like you imagine, you're a fool. Because that's not how it works. How it works is that you're focused on the outcome at the end of the process. You are not an expert on how it's supposed to happen. You only have a very finite number of ideas about how it could happen. And probably the first one you're thinking isn't the one that's going to happen. But the end will. If you're clear, if you know where you're going, the series of events that will get you there will happen. And it doesn't matter. Because the universe, this thing called spiritual law, is more of an expert than you. This idea of infinite possibilities knows how to do this. What we know how to do is have that clear understanding of where we want to be. And then we get there step by step, allowing it to unfold. And we avoid this situation of saying, well, all is lost. It didn't work. Because then that's what you get. That if you are clear that this that you're calling and knowing is in your life, if you're clear about that without exception, it's yours. It's yours. I guarantee it. But you have to get out of the way. Because the only thing that can create a barrier is you. Only you. Only your thoughts. Yeah, but I never said it out loud. It doesn't matter. Guess what? Spiritual law works whether you say it out loud or not. What do you want? Can you have it? So I titled this talk, and I was a little not sure about it, but I called the talk, in other words, because We say words or we think words. We think an idea. And then we have to flip it. We have to flip it into what we want. That original reactive thought that we have is not our enemy. Don't go to war with it. Oh God, don't go to war with your thoughts. Use it as a guidepost. Because if it's pointing north, you're one to go south. And this gives you the opportunity to see that and use those words that come forth. And then pick up new words. Pick up different words. So I have some thoughts for you. Examples of other words. There's not enough. In other words, there's always more than enough. I'm broke. In other words, I always have more than enough. It won't work. In other words, I can create anything, including this. I have to. In other words, I get to. I'm afraid. In other words, I can do this. You hurt me. In other words, I'm learning from you. I hate you. In other words, I love you. And I'm remembering how to express that. Life's hard. In other words, I'm learning about myself right now. Women are evil rhymes with witches. In other words, I'm healing on my unresolved issues with my mother. I don't know what to do. In other words, I always know what to do. I'm tired. In other words, I'm learning to take better care of myself. I'm lonely. In other words, I love my life. This is a mess. In other words, something wonderful is about to happen. So, what do you want? What words do you want to attach to that? What words do you want to use to envision that and to impress upon the law this idea that is coming forth in your life? If you don't quite know how to do that, you have an opportunity today, because we're going to have our practitioners surround the room. Go to them and tell them what's going on in just a few words, and then listen to what they say, what they know about you. Let them demonstrate how this is done, and then do it for yourself. Because, my dear friends, you are the beloved. You are the beloved. And all of life is well pleased, and will give you whatever you bring forth in life. Live by that, and you'll have all of your dreams fully realized every day and every way. I love you so much. Amen.